You remember when you went to those birthday parties as a kid and they lined all the chairs up or circled them up and turned the music on and everybody started walking around? Everybody knew what was going to happen, that there was going to be a point where the music stops and then everybody's got to jump for a chair. But there's only going to be enough chairs for everyone there but one. And so the key was you didn't want to be that one person that was left without a chair. And you know, there was a tension during that. There was this excitement as you were walking around. And then all of a sudden the music stops. And then what happens? Well, you found out who got left standing without a chair. And what we're going to talk about today is don't get left standing without a chair. When we look at where we are in the market today, where the S&P's over 3,000, everyone is expecting a rate cut. And Wall Street is addicted to cheap money. In fact, last fall, when they hit some rate cuts and it projected more, the market crashed. And then once they backed off from that at the Fed, the market picked back up. So Wall Street is, like I said, addicted to cheap money. When the interest rates paid by the banks are not that great, then the stock market is a viable alternative. I would suggest there are other alternatives, but we're not going to get into that at this moment. And even people like Blackstone, which is a famous investment company, Blackstone chief investment strategist is saying that the 3,000 S&P is not really being driven by earnings, and it's not really about fundamentals. It's driven by liquidity and cheap money, and that the Fed is going to keep this cheap money coming. Because when money's cheap, then stocks are the way to go. But when money starts becoming more expensive, then fixed income investments are a much better deal. So when you're a retiree, this is the issue, though, is that you got to think different. And I know sometimes I may sound contrary to optimistic expectations that a lot of Wall Street brokers have, but I work with retirees. And I know my clients don't get a do-over. If the market crashes and they were aggressively positioned, they don't get a do-over. The rules change when you go from accumulation to distribution. And people need to remember that. So when you're 40 years old, you can take these market gyrations. When you're 65, 70, and you're going into retirement, if you're not already there, you cannot handle those. You don't get a do-over. So just remember that. When the music stops, you want to make sure you have a chair. And we're going to discuss some concepts today that'll dovetail right into that.
Welcome to the Ask Brad Show. Be prepared to hear ideas, concepts, and strategies that may challenge the way you were taught to think about saving and investing for retirement. It's time to roll up our sleeves and get to it. And now, the host of the Ask Brad Show, here's Brad Williams.
You know, as I opened, I mentioned the old game of musical chairs. And you know, so many of those games as kids were so much fun, but you know, you were stressed out. You didn't want to be the one left standing, but you know, ultimately there's only going to be one person left, and they were going to be the winner. Well, you know, retirement doesn't have to be that way. There doesn't have to be only one winner. But the sad fact of the matter is, when you look at statistics, that only about 5 people out of 100 are truly financially independent when they retire. You know, when you think about the great opportunities in this country, and people work so hard, we're probably the hardest working people in the world. And I wouldn't doubt that a bit. We put in longer hours than the rest of the world. You know, they have riots over in France for more vacation. So we've got to look at things for our retirement differently now. You know, we're coming out of a long bull market, and the market cycles. And anybody who's come in to see me, I speak a lot on market history and trends and cycles, and I think that's important to look at because when you retire in a cycle is really going to drive some of the things you do. But today, I want to talk about 10 steps you need to take before you retire, and especially if you're within 5 years of retiring. Because if you look at retirement like climbing a mountain, that climb up the mountain, that's your accumulation phase. And I like to use this analogy because I think it's quite descriptive. So you're working, you're putting money away, you're doing all the right things, putting in your 401k, building up your Social Security, all these things. And you get to the peak of the mountain, and that peak of the mountain, that's your retirement. You've gotten to that pinnacle where you've had a lifetime of hard work. You've raised your kids, hopefully paid off your house, done some great things, maybe sent the kids to college. Now they've got their families and they're doing good and you're proud of them. And you're right at that pinnacle now and retirement starts. Well, you've now gone from the accumulation phase to the distribution phase of retirement. And you know what, folks? All the rules changed. As much as you hate to think about that, the rules have changed. Your income is going to be dependent on what you do with what you've accumulated to this point in your life. Yes, you got Social Security, and maybe you're lucky enough to have a pension. But making sure you take care of what you've accumulated in that nest egg is very, very important. And I often cite the fact that there's a stage in the middle there that's often overlooked. We got the accumulation stage and the distribution phase, climbing up the mountain, going down the mountain. But there's a preservation phase during that transition that a lot of people forget about. That's when you start de-risking your portfolio. That's when you start changing your focus from growth to income. And in fact, that's what my practice focuses on, is income-oriented investments and looking at how do you create the streams of income that give you the flexibility to do the things you want to do in life. And so we're going to talk about those things today, and we're going to cover a lot of things that I think you'll find interesting and hopefully informative that will help you in that transition period, that preservation period where you're making the decisions into retirement to make that retirement much more stress-free and happy. So when we come back, we're going to talk about that. This is Brad Williams, and I have been privileged to have been an instructor over the last 12 years or so at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. They have some great course offerings. I'm currently teaching a course that I've written and taught for many years, Changing Face of Retirement in the 21st Century. But that's not all of the courses there. You can learn languages. You can learn hobbies, travel. There are so many things that you can get out of these courses they offer at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. So check it out today and come keep your brain working.
For more information on the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, call 256-824-6183. That's 256-824-6183. Or email olli.info@uah.edu. The Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Come keep your brain working.
All right, now when we open, I spent some time talking about the retirement mountain and, the accumulation phase, the distribution phase, but the preservation phase. But as we look at 10 steps to take before you retire, I think the number one is, what does retirement mean to you? I mean, what do you truly want to do in retirement? You don't want to just go away. You want to be productive. Now, a lot of people, I've got clients that continue to do consulting. They may work part-time at their job. There's a lot of highly skilled people in this town. and got a lot of them as my clients who are in high demand and they can control their hours. And that's good if you start positioning yourself in that way. Now, some people aren't that way. It's, they're either working or they're not. You might find a part-time job. You might find a way to begin turning your hobby into something that will, that will generate income for you. So that number one thing is, what do you want your retirement to be? Is it about spending time with your family? Is it about spending time with your spouse, maybe traveling? And one caution I would say, I've got one client that really worked hard to make sure that they had plenty in retirement, that him and his wife had plenty in retirement. And then right as he finally got to it, he put it off several times. His wife got sick and they never got to enjoy it. So when you're preparing for retirement, don't overdo it. Look at what you need, but don't think you got to overpad it and end up missing some of the things you've worked for so hard in your life. Because I think that's something he really regrets, is that, he wanted to be so secure that he gave up something he'll never get back. So I think the second thing, make sure you have an emergency fund, because you don't know what's going to happen. And that emergency fund can encompass many things. What I'm finding more and more is that a lot of my clients are taking care of grandkids or maybe their kids in one way or another. And maybe their kids haven't done a good job and they're handling their grandkids, or, something happened in their lives where they're not there. So, having the money to do that as well as doing what you want to do in retirement is important. But I think it all goes back to the first one, which, determine what retirement means to you, what family needs you're going to have, what financial needs those are going to put on you. The third thing would be, if you're thinking about staying in your house and you still have a mortgage and you're wondering, hey, maybe now might be a good time to refinance if you haven't already done so, or maybe you want to change the financing that you're doing, you do it before you quit working. I think with interest rates going up, a lot of people probably already refinanced, but just make sure that, if you're going to do that, you want to do that now. And number 4, and I think this is probably the most important, is you want a detailed financial plan. And that should encompass Social Security. When should you take it? When should your spouse take it? What are the ramifications of those decisions? How you should take your pension if you have a pension. Do you need a survivor benefit? Does that make sense to get that? Where's your income going to come from? Are you going to be taking income from your portfolio? Have you readjusted your portfolio to be providing income to you and not just growth? Because when we get back, I'm going to talk about the difference between a growth advisor and an income advisor. So stay tuned, folks.
At Brad Williams Financial Services, we believe in innovative thinking, and we're not afraid to challenge conventional methods in our approach to managing, investing, and preserving wealth. To learn more about Brad Williams Financial Services or to set up a complimentary review,
call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. No one needs to tell you we live in an era of financial uncertainty. As a thank you just for listening to our program today, we're offering listeners who call in or log on a complimentary copy of the new book, Return on Principle, 7 Core Values to Protect Your Money in Good Times and Bad, from best-selling author and financial coach David Scranton. Filled with in-depth analysis from financial overprotection to financial fearlessness, Return on Principle tackles them all. Steve Forbes says David Scranton offers perspectives investors should not ignore in these turbulent times. Return on Principle takes baby boomers through a journey of discovery, not blame. For your complimentary copy, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com.
All right, welcome back. And, right before the break, what I talked about was having a full financial plan and looking at Social Security, looking at your pensions, looking at where you're going to be getting your income, but also addressing your portfolio, because you've got to be able to know what your portfolio is going to do for you. Many advisors today are really just financial salespeople. You come in the office, you do a profile, takes you, 10 minutes to do the profile, and it says either you're, conservative, moderate, or aggressive. And then they have a cookie cutter set of funds for each one, wherever you fall in, and you transfer the money in. The next day, it's all invested in whatever those funds are. I would say you probably got a financial salesperson. And as I mentioned mountain climbing in the beginning, when people climb Everest, for example, and let me give you a detail about Everest. The majority of all deaths on mountains like Everest don't happen on the ascent. They happen on the descent. It's not going up the mountain. In our discussion today, that's the accumulation phase. It's the coming down the mountain, the distribution phase. That's when people make mistakes. Their resources have been exhausted. They're tired. Maybe they're injured, kind of like a retirement could be. And they start making mistakes, and it oftentimes costs them their lives. So a lot of people, in fact, I think on Mount Everest, you have to have a Sherpa to go up with you. They hire a Sherpa who is that guide that knows the ins and outs of the mountain, and he guides them up and he guides them down. And that's the key. He guides them up and he guides them down. Unfortunately, in our industry, you typically specialize in one or the other. You're either a growth-oriented advisor, you have clients that are, 30, 40, 50, 60, maybe even older. And your main goal is growing their money. And when people start talking about, should I get more conservative? Well, they say, yeah, we'll get in more conservative stocks. And they're still in the market. And there's a universe of income-oriented investments that a lot of people don't look at, that are largely unavailable in mutual funds. And those are worth looking at. And so that Sherpa should be able to take you there and have those in the portfolio. But again, so many advisors are financial salespeople, and they're not Sherpas, and their expertise is not making sure that you don't run out of money. And when I say that, I'm not talking about putting your money in a variable annuity that has an income rider, and in the event that all your money's gone, you still have income. That's not what I'm talking about. Variable annuities can be very expensive, and although those income riders sound pretty good, it's kind of like a variable annuity is a tool that can be valuable in the right hands and for the right reasons. But when you're a retiree, it may not be the best choice. And of course, that's something to be determined by your particular situation. So I'm not going to make a blanket statement on that. But think about this. So variable annuity gives you access to the market through the sub-accounts, and you have growth in there. Well, you also have what could be a lot of high fees. But what often happens with a financial salesperson is when you come in and they're used to using these variable annuities, they say, I'm concerned about the downside. Oh, okay. Well, we can just throw this income rider on. That way, if for some reason the market goes down, you'll at least be guaranteed this certain amount of income when you retire. So you'll have some safety there. Okay. Well, it might work for some, but when you really look at the details, a lot of people find that may not be for them. It's kind of like going to a Porsche dealership. When you're looking for a family vehicle, a crossover or minivan or something like that, and you go in the Porsche dealership and you say, hey, I need a vehicle. He says, hey, we got this great sports car. Well, I'm going to be driving a lot in the snow. Oh, okay. Well, for an extra charge, we can put these snow tires in the trunk and they'll be ready for you. Okay. Well, that might work. He said, but I may be going over some rough ground and all, and I'm afraid it might roll over. Oh, okay. Well, for this extra fee, we can throw a roll bar on there. And then if you roll over, you're going to be all right. Okay. Well, so what have you got? You've taken a sports car and you've added on these things that really didn't belong, and they're supposed to make you feel safe. When in reality, maybe another vehicle might be the best thing. If you're worried about losing your money, there may be other ways, because a variable annuity is going to be just like the market. It's going to have ups and downs. So when you're looking at income tools, what I'm talking about is not really a variable annuity with an income rider. I'm talking about other things. These are a universe of income-oriented investments that I help my clients with. Now, if you're not sure whether your portfolio is set up for income in retirement and that you're in that preservation phase, that 5-year period before retirement, you need to give me a call, 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. And we can talk about your thoughts and even provide you a free 1-hour consultation to do a brief analysis and show you, are you on track or not? That's 844-343-6048. So getting back to a detailed retirement plan, I think that's important. And that's one of the things that I work with my clients on, is creating a kind of a financial GPS, I like to call it. Because when you look at traveling, and I've used this analogy on my show before, when you're flying, most of the time that plane's off course, and you pilots out there know what I'm talking about. And that GPS figures out, the turbulence, the tailwinds, the cross currents, the weather changes, and it makes sure that when you drift off course, it pulls that nose right back on course. So it's making the small course corrections when they're needed instead of waiting until they get to be big ones. And oftentimes when people come in to see me the first time, maybe they had an advisor they haven't seen in 2 or 3, 5 years. Put them in some investments that they're not even sure how they're doing, not even sure whether they're appropriate for them. Maybe they get a Christmas card every now and then. But to sit down and do several reviews a year and make sure they're on course and make the subtle course correction, that may not be the kind of service they're getting. And if that's the case, then that might indicate that you're dealing with a financial salesperson and not so much an advisor. So having a detailed financial plan is important. And number 6, part of that plan is your savings drawdown strategy. You want to make sure that you build plans in there to make it last. Because, a good analogy for that would be, if you don't plan right with your investments, your retirement could be like a 30-year mortgage. I know my grandfather actually had more years than that in retirement, but you think about that. You buy a house, you get a mortgage, you get a 30-year mortgage, and then you make that first payment and very little of the principal's paid. Most of it's interest. All right. And then each time you make another payment, just a little bit more principal's paid. And then when you finally get to the end of it, at the end of 30 years, lo and behold, that $300,000 debt that you had 30 years ago is gone. And hey, that's great. You got your deed and you're in retirement. House is paid off. That's great. Now, the problem a lot of people have is when they look at drawdown strategies, and this, I'm going to do a show on the 4% rule that I think has a lot of holes in it, because even Morningstar has changed that to 2.8% in this turbulent environment. And what that means is that there used to be an old adage, if you have $1 million, you can draw 4% out of it. And that's $40,000 a year before taxes. And you got a reasonable chance, something like 90% chance of not running out of money before you die. That's changed now with the way the markets and interest rates are. And even Morningstar has recently come out and says 2.8. So think about that, 2.8%. But getting back to the mortgage analogy, you had a 30-year mortgage, you paid it off, but what if you're taking your income from growth and you're slowly drawing down your principal? Well, it ends up being like a 30-year mortgage in reverse if you haven't planned it right. And then boom, you get toward the end of your retirement and there's no money left. But then again, look at where we are now in the market. What if, and we've had one in 2000 and one in 2008, 50% drawdown. That changes that whole withdrawal rate totally. So think about that. And when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the 10 steps you need to take before you retire.
Thanks for listening to our show today. In retirement, you only get one chance to get it right, and we know that proper information leads to informed decisions. And that's why we hold free informational workshops in our area every month. Topics like Social Security, RMDs, the latest retirement tax strategies, IRAs, estate planning, and so much more. For dates and times of the next free workshop in your area, just pick up the phone. Give us a call today. Call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048.
All right, now, going back, we talked about climbing the retirement mountain. We've talked about having a financial plan. We've talked about income strategies and why, you don't want to turn your retirement into a 30-year mortgage in reverse and why that's something you got to look at. Number 7 is you may want to look at long-term care insurance or long-term care coverage in one of numerous ways it's available. I've done shows on long-term care. You can go back, go to the AskBradShow.com and listen to those. I don't want to spend this time going over that. But planning for healthcare expenses is very important, and I think it's something you want to do. I've also done some shows on estate planning. A lot of my clients have used a great law firm that's what they specialize in, to put together trusts and wills and powers of attorneys and why those are necessary. Putting together that part of your plan is really important too. Number 9, you need to check and recheck your plans. And what I mean by that is a plan is something that changes with the environment. There's an old military adage that no battle plan survives first contact. You might say that about retirements too, because things change. If you retired in 2009, you had an upward market for a good while. If you're retiring now, you may not be so sure what it's going to do. But having a written plan going back to number 5 is really critical. And what I mean by written plan is not just a general outline. I'm talking about something that details everything. And if that's something you want to talk about, if you don't have a written plan, if you feel like you've been dealing with a financial salesperson and not a financial advisor, and you're looking for a retirement Sherpa, then give us a call, 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Now, we're going to go into the last one, the 10th step that you need to take in retirement. And that is you need to adjust your retirement financial plan to compensate for risk and longevity. And so that's where we get back into, are you investing for growth? Are you investing for income? Because the formula I write on the board in my office all the time when I'm meeting with clients, just to remind them, is TR equals G plus I. Total return equals growth plus income. And a lot of people, when they think income, they think, okay, well, I got some bond funds in there. That's good for income. Well, bond funds probably not going to be the best place going forward because we've come out of a period of low interest rates, of declining interest rates. And now we're heading back into a period of increasing interest rates. And during those periods, the value of that bond, when you buy an individual bond and you hold it to maturity, then the only risk is that you're not getting as much return as other people are getting. But when you get to the end of it, you get your money back. When you buy a bond in a bond fund, and unfortunately, a lot of financial salespeople, when they get that stock bond portfolio mix, they use bond funds. When we're in a period of rising interest rates, bond funds can lose value because the value of the bond goes down as interest rates go up. So if somebody has a 3% bond and the new bonds are 5 and they want to sell that bond early, then they're going to take a loss on that bond because other people can get a comparable bond for a higher interest rate. Well, that value of that bond is calculated in that bond fund. So that's a discussion that if you're heavily into bond funds, we may want to have. If you're not sure about how to position yourself for income and how you should be defensive in your portfolio going in retirement, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. We can set up a 1-hour consultation. We can even set up a 15-minute phone consultation. Just give us a call, 844-343-6048.
At Brad Williams Financial Services, we understand the struggles that families and business owners face today. We want to help you develop, implement, and monitor a strategy that's designed to address your personal objectives and individual situation. To learn more about Brad Williams Financial Services or to set up a complimentary review,
call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048.
Investing in the stock market these days is like riding a roller coaster. Leaving a place of safety, get on the coaster, hear the clickety-clack as you experience anticipation climbing to the top of the hill, followed by sheer panic as you plummet back to the earth, hoping you stay on track. You might be brave enough to repeat the process several times, going up and down, but never achieving higher highs and accomplishing nothing but anticipation followed by fear. The stock market has been doing this same ride of volatility with no real growth. Proper education, though, can help you find a better way to grow your money during these times.
Call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. A message from Brad Williams Financial Services, LLC, right here in Huntsville.
Is your financial advisor performance-driven or purpose-driven? What I mean is, when you meet with them, is it all about returns and numbers, or is it about you, your family, and your quality of life? Do they know your goals, your aspirations, and the desires you have that you hope your money can achieve? Did they even ask? Is your financial advisor a partner in your retirement or just someone who sends you reports? If you're looking for an advisor to be more of a partner for you and your spouse in retirement, call Brad Williams Financial Services at 844-343-6048. Call today and schedule a free 1-hour, no obligation consultation to discuss your goals and aspirations and see if we're a good fit. That's 844-343-6048. Well, as I mentioned earlier, retirement is more about money. And as we look at where we are now, summer's winding down, your kids, grandkids going back to school, it's a change of season. And, of course, we know in Alabama that doesn't mean a change in temperature, but certainly in our mindset. Traffic starts getting denser. It's nice in the summer when we don't have so much traffic because people are on vacation and there's holidays. So, eventually we will get help from the heat and humidity. Start looking toward Christmas and the end of the year. And what I have found is that oftentimes this end of the year causes people to focus on old family things and planning. In fact, in the insurance industry, there's more life insurance sold in the end of the year from what I've read, because people start thinking about family. Well, what we're also going to talk about is the change of season when you begin to realize that retirement is not far off. Maybe you're early in retirement, and that requires a change in your mindset, a change in investment philosophy. You've heard me say many times you need to shift from the growth mindset to the income mindset. This total return is growth plus income. And with the volatile markets we have, having an income mindset is very important. So changing that mindset's real important. This is a retirement-focused show. I'm glad that maybe I get some younger listeners. I hope it helps them. But my focus is toward those who are close to retirement or in retirement. And so I do talk about retirement a lot. You need to always be looking towards retirement, planning. If you're already in there, it's about the options. And one of the things that I would suggest is having goals. Do you have goals? Have you decided what's important to you and why it's important? Because you've got 20 to 30 years in retirement. In fact, my grandfather retired at 55 and lived 87, 32 years. And that's not uncommon these days. So make the years count. Establish goals. Find out what's important to you, what priorities you have. It could be travel. Maybe long time ago you visited, say, Italy, and you spent a couple weeks there, went to several cities, and now you want to go back and see even more. Well, you may even make several trips out of it. That takes planning. That's a lot of work, and there's money involved. So take that into consideration. It's making sure you get the most out of everything, and that requires planning. You know, a lot of people say, I'm not really interested in traveling overseas. I'd rather just travel in the United States. And let me tell you something. There are so many places, great places to see in this country. We could spend a lifetime and never get them all in. So again, having plans, taking a look at what money's involved, the impact of those costs on your retirement. Now, for some, it could be that they want to spend their time serving in their church or community. And others, and this affects a lot of my clients, or applies to a lot of my clients, they want to watch their grandchildren grow up. They want to be involved in their grandchildren's education and ball games and everything else. Well, again, plan for that. You got to plan for that. So you need to sit down and put teeth in it. And I always encourage my clients to dream. Don't put off retirement too long. Make sure you start enjoying it. Even if you shift to a part-time status at work to try to start getting those vacations and those trips in and those activities, then that's great. You know, when you first retire, that first 30 to 60 days is kind of like a extended vacation. You're not having to go to work. You're waking up, you're getting your coffee, and you're watching the news, and you're wondering what you're going to do that day. And it's really great because you don't have any plans. And then all of a sudden, life starts wearing in, and you start realizing, wait a minute, this isn't real good for me just to sit around all the time. The vacation aspect's going to wear off. You got to have something to get you out of bed every morning. You got to have a mission, something to look forward to. Whether that's travel, whether that's service, whether that's your family. Seriously, folks, I'm not kidding. It's important for you to have a mission every day, because what will happen is if you don't have a mission, is your retirement's not going to be that long. There's something I've seen in my 32 years in this industry is the fact that if people don't have a mission when they retire, they don't live as long as other people do. So you need to have a plan. Is very important. And I'd like to offer all my listeners a free report. You can call 844-343-6048. And we'll email you a copy, mail you a copy, however you like. No cost, no obligation. 844-343-6048. You can also check us out at AskBradWilliams.com.
Thanks for listening to our show today. In retirement, you only get one chance to get it right, and we know that proper information leads to informed decisions. And that's why we hold free informational workshops in our area every month. Topics like Social Security, RMDs, the latest retirement tax strategies, IRAs, estate planning, and so much more. For dates and times of the next free workshop in your area, just pick up the phone. Give us a call today. 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com.
All right, now that we're back and we've been talking about the change of season in retirement, having a mindset of having a purpose for life, even though you're not working anymore. And some people might think, well, you know, Brad, I listen to this for some of the investment strategies and concepts. What does this have to do with retirement investing? Well, these missions is how you count the cost of your retirement. I have some clients that build a vacation budget in our financial plan, because with every client I do a financial plan, a written financial plan. And I think that's important. It acts as a GPS. Question I'd have for you, do you have a written financial plan? Okay. So in that financial plan should be your goals and objectives financially. And that could be travel, could be many things. So investing wisely for retirement, that's really key. And having a financial defense in retirement is very important. And I'd like to offer all my listeners a free report called Financial Defense in Retirement. You can call 844-343-6048. And we'll email you a copy, mail you a copy, however you like. No cost, no obligation. 844-343-6048 for our Financial Defense Report. You can also check us out at AskBradWilliams.com. We can send you some videos. These are short 3 or 4 minute videos that really explain some of the concepts that I talk about on the show. And these will help you in the planning. These will help you in really looking at retirement from a different perspective other than just getting financial reports that show you how much you made. Because it's not how much you make on your money. It's the purpose of that money that's important. I mean, obviously it's important to get a return on your money, but it's also important to have a purpose for that money. So again, getting back to goals, sitting down with your spouse, with your significant other, think about what you want to do and what the cost is. Plan out several years in advance. You know, domestic travel doesn't require a lot of money. International does, but domestic doesn't require a lot of money. Volunteering for your church doesn't require a lot of money. It does take time and commitment. You know, you got to get up and get there. But when you're looking at your activities, you got to count the cost, and you got to set those goals up and know how much income you're going to need to get to those goals. If you would like to have the kind of retirement where you're thinking about my travel plans, my volunteering plans, then you've also got to know what your income goals are and what your income capabilities are. And have you looked at your retirement plan from an income generating standpoint? So that is what makes for a secure retirement, is not how much you have in the market or in the bank. It's what that check is that's coming in from renewable income every month. You know, when you are in that transition, when you are, say, that 3 to 5 years before you retire, and you're looking at how do I plan for this? We've also got to take some things into account. Let's say you've got a combined income of $100,000, and this is a real life case that was recent for me. You're both working, you have a combined income about $100,000, and you're contributing, roughly about $25,000 a year to the 401k. And you had a mortgage, roughly about $18,000 a year in principal and interest payments. But that's going to be paid off in the next couple of years when you retire. So when you think about retirement, you've also got to factor in, well, I'm not going to be contributing to a 401k. My mortgage is going to be paid off, and I'm not going to be making Social Security contributions. So, there you're looking at another $7,000 or so. So your income when you hit retirement from that standpoint is going to be less. So the way you look at your expenses is going to be different, because you've got also a reduction in federal income taxes in this particular case. And this is assuming you're not making withdrawals from your 401k right away and adding additional income. So remember, taking into account all these things, taking into account when you're going to claim Social Security, because that is a big driver in guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Nowhere else can you get an 8% guaranteed return on your income that you can get by waiting till you're 70 to get Social Security. It may be that to accomplish some of your goals, that you continue to work part-time, or that you withdraw from your 401k to help get you through that bridge time to get you to maximum Social Security age. So these are some of the things that need to be talked about and need to be thought about. So and we're going to get more into that when we return.
A message from Brad Williams Financial Services, LLC, right here in Huntsville.
Is your retirement plan on course? A good advisor is like a financial GPS because your retirement is like an airplane. It's subject to the tailwinds of economic change, the turbulence of volatility, and the fuel risk of outliving your money. If you would like to find out what having a financial GPS is all about, call me to schedule a free 1-hour consultation to see if you are on course. Call 844-343-6048. Welcome back, and we've been talking about the change of season from summer to fall and the change in your financial season as you approach retirement. When you hit that red zone of retirement, and what I mean by that is that time right up to, it might even be as much as 5 years before, or if you've stepped into retirement recently, it's important to have goals. It's important to taking some time, putting some teeth in them, knowing the cost, knowing if you're traveling, what that's going to cost. Is it volunteering? Is it playing more golf? You got green fees. So it really is a lot of things. If you want to build those in, you need to have a plan. And having those goals will tell you what your income needs are going to be in retirement. And so that's important because, as I mentioned earlier, you may have 20, 30 years, and maybe if you're lucky, even more. So when you're 65, if you're getting ready to retire, planned at 95. Wow, when you're younger, you don't even think of 95. But look around, look at church, look at the places you go. If you go to the Senior Center for Activities, I do a lot of workshops there. There's a lot of older people there that are very vigorous and energetic. There's all kinds of activities. I have a client who's got Parkinson's, and they have a boxing class for Parkinson's patients, and he loves it. It's helping him work on his balance and some of the issues that Parkinson brings. So there are so many things for retirees to do now, but if you're going to enjoy them, you got to have a plan, and that plan includes the right income. So you may have a pension. A lot of people still have a pension, whether it's $50 a month, whether it's $1,000 a month, it might even be $3,000 a month. It forms one of those pillars in your guaranteed income. Then you have your Social Security. Then you have any other sources of guaranteed income. Maybe you got a military retirement. So you piece those all together. You see what they're going to bring, and that tells you what you're going to need. And again, Social Security planning is really, really critical because it helps you maximize one of those pillars of guaranteed income. What I do for my clients, I have a timing software that I run them through as a basic part of our financial plan. In fact, it's one of the first things we do. And what that does is it shows them all of the aspects and all of the strategies they could use. In the past, most financial advisors really had no tools to do that. And so the guess was, well, are you going to live long? Then you may want to take it later. If you're short-lived, you may want to take it now. That's about as scientific as it got. Well, now there's ways to look at how to do it and even strategies to maximize income for you and your spouse. In fact, I do regular workshops on Social Security where we discuss all those things and how to maximize it. We'll be announcing a workshop here in the next week or so as we finish up our scheduling, and we'll let you know so that any of our listeners can come to that. You've got to look at guaranteed income, and then that tells you how much you're going to need from your other accounts. And then you have to look at, how do I safely get that money out of my other accounts? Because how you're invested in retirement is different than how you're invested when you're growing. So you need predictability. You need consistency. If you're relying on the 4% rule out of your mutual funds for your income, folks, that rule is passé. That rule's gone. In fact, Morningstar, who created that, has even come back and updated that at about, I think it's 2.8% or 2.9%. So not only, and that's with a 90% chance of not outliving your money. Folks, that's not real good odds in my opinion. It's looking at, okay, what can I invest in to generate income? So am I getting my income from the growth of my investments, or am I getting it from the income generated from my investments? In fact, one question to ask your financial advisor is, if you're taking RMDs now, or if you're getting ready to take RMDs, say, where am I getting my RMDs? And if he's telling you he's selling shares in your funds to get them, that ought to send a red flag up. So if that's the case, maybe we need to talk. So give us a call, 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. And we'll be happy to send you the defensive investing report that we had mentioned earlier and help you through that phase. Look at it this way. If you're getting your income from interest and dividends, it's like the chicken and the egg. As long as you got the chicken, he keeps laying the egg. You keep him happy, he keeps laying the egg. You want to eat the chicken? Well, if that's the case, the game's over. So you don't want to eat the chicken, you want the egg. And that's what investing for income is all about. And that's what I help my clients with. Because as you retire, your mindset changes. And just like in retirement, your advisor attitude changes. Just like when we're a child, we have a pediatrician. When we're, young adult and into adulthood, we have a general practitioner. And then when we get older, we specialize in someone, a geriatric, or someone who specializes in the health of those who are older. I hate to say elderly, but older, because I'm 62 now, so I'm moving up there. But so in the advisor mindset changes too. So remember that. Keep that in mind. Again, if your advisor is taking your income by selling shares in your mutual fund, that's something maybe we need to talk about. So last topic here we're going to discuss briefly is inflation. Got to build inflation into the pot, because inflation is like a 30-year mortgage in reverse on your funds. So if you're not taking income, if you're taking part of the principal, then it's just like a 30-year mortgage where your first payment is primarily interest and a little bit of principal. And then as time goes on, it becomes more and more principal and less interest. Well, folks, if you are cannibalizing your retirement accounts to do RMDs and income, even though you're only taking a little bit of principal now, not even factoring in market corrections and ups and downs, then you're on track for a 30-year mortgage in reverse. Do you want that? That's something that you need to think about. Well, keep that in mind. Give us a call, 844-343-6048. Well, it looks like we've run out of time again. So I appreciate your listening. I appreciate the calls. So you have a great week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Who cares about the clouds if we're together? Just sing a song and bring the sunny weather. Happy trails to you till we meet again. Some trails are happy ones, others are blue. It's the way you ride that trail that counts. Here's a happy one for you. Happy trails to
you. That's all the time we have for today. To learn more about Brad Williams Financial Services or to set up a complimentary review,
call 844-343-6048. That's 844 888-343-6048.
Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Brad Williams Financial Services and Sound Income Strategies, LLC are not associated entities.